Dragonites. How's everybody doing today? I hope everybody is having an awesome week. Woo, we're getting through it, but it's a little painful this week, isn't it? Lots of stuff happening. So I want to start out with a little bit of housekeeping. Get that out of the way first. So for the May event, I will not desert you, which is any canvas with something sweet or dessert-like to eat. The current list of participants I have is Margie Grice, Crafty Chef Diamond, Nuck and Futz, Pampered with Diamonds, Missy Nelson, Jedi Master, Mike Weeks, Susan Downey, Scarlett's Little Crafty Corner, Diamond Artjoy, Melinda Hands, and Roxanne Samuscott. So if you thought you signed up, and maybe you did and I for some reason have missed it, or you meant to sign up and you forgot, please do that as soon as possible so that you don't get left out, because I would really like to make sure everybody that wants to participate has a chance to do that. So, today on our little Wip N Chat, probably not going to talk a whole lot about upcoming events, because I feel like I kind of run them into the ground and I hate to do it every single time I have a video. But guys, the reality is it doesn't matter how many times I talk about it, inevitably someone always says, oh my gosh, I didn't realize it was now, oh my gosh, I forgot, oh my gosh. So I'm kind of hitting it home to give you guys as many opportunities as possible to get signed up if you want to and you haven't. Okay, so again, May, next month, I will not desert you. Any canvas that has something sweet to eat or a dessert item. Now, sweet is just that. So it could be fruit even. If you have a canvas with fruit on it, that would be fine. Something that is dessert based or sweet, okay? Also, don't forget Crafty Chef Diamond is doing the 2-year anniversary of Diamond Paint with Friends 2.0. And she is also doing food as a theme. So, you can potentially have the same canvas for both events and do a twofer if you want to. So, or 2 different canvases or whatever floats your boat. But you need to let Crafty Chef Diamond know if you're going to be participating in her event as well. Okay. So get signed up for this one if you haven't and you still want to. Oh, there's one other person, and I don't know how to say your name. Is it Lyra? Leyra? I do have you down. You are also on here. I just haven't added your last name yet, so I apologize, but I will. So you are also in the event. So, again, that's for May. Now, for the event that is coming up in September, which is Under the Sea. So anything that's under the sea, so you can get out your mermaids, your dolphins, your sharks, your orcas, your sunken pirate ship, your treasure, your shells and pearls under the sea. All of those qualify as long as it's something under the sea. Okay, so that is in September. Right now, I have Margie Grice, Crafty Chef Diamond, Nuck and Futz, Mike Weeks, Diamond Artjoy. These people signed up for all 4 events, and so they are also on here. So, and you can sign up now for any or all of them, but you need to sign up by the 25th of April of this month for May's event of I Will Not Desert You. So please do that so that if you want to participate, you're not left out in the cold, okay? November, we're doing Bella Luna or Luna and Lichens, however you want to discuss it. This is any canvas with a moon in any phase and anywhere on the canvas, and or if you would rather do a canvas with a wolf, you're welcome to do that too. So that's coming up in November. Then in December, same 5 people that I have signed up for that one. Our Better Angels / have a fairy happy holiday. This is going to be any creature or humanoid with wings or any fae creature. So now's the time to get out, you know, your trolls, your centaurs, your unicorns, your fairies, your sorceresses or sorcerers, your wizards and warlocks. This is the time to get all of those canvases out and decide which one you want to do for December. Okay, that is what is currently on the roster. So get signed up for any or all of those. If you know that you have a canvas and you know you want to do it, sign up so that you don't forget and I have you down. Now, I am taking some suggestions for next year. I'm not going to do more than 4 events hosting wise next year. It's, you know, it's a lot of work, and I want to just do some, you know, some painting that I like, because you know, that's the fun part. And if I'm planning, prepping, getting ready, hosting, then I don't get to do that really as much. So that is what I'm planning to do. So 2 of them that I definitely want to do is walk like an Egyptian. So that would be anything to do with Egypt. So you could have a pharaoh, you could have Anubis, you could have one of the gods of Egyptian mythology. So whether that's, you know, Eye of Horus would be a good one. You know, any of those are fine. You know, Hera, Venus, any of those are fine. Anything to do with Egypt. So if you have, you know, pyramids, or you have a desert oasis scene, or you have something with a camel on it, or, you know, anything that, you know, you might see if you were hanging out, walking along down the street in Egypt. So that is what is going to make that up. You can do, you know, Anubis, you could do Cleopatra, you could do any pharaoh, you could do King Tut, you could do whatever you wanted to do. So be thinking as you look through some of these things. The other one I want to get to is what's in a name. So that one will be any canvas that has something on it that begins with the same letter as your name. So if your name is Kate, you could have a kangaroo, you could have a kite, you could have ketchup, you could have a kaleidoscope. Anything on there that begins with the first letter. Doesn't have to be the focal point, could be anything. As long as there's something on there with the same letter as your first name, then it's a qualifying canvas. So that is going to be those 2. And so there's room for 2 more. So I want to know from you guys, what other event would you like to do that you have not seen, or you wanted to get in on one like it and you missed it and you really want to do it? You know, let me know what you think, and we will do a poll, and, you know, we will vote on it, and those are the 2 that we'll do. So that'll be our 4 for next year, for 2026. So I think that's all the event information that I wanted to share with you. I am going to be working today on my canvas for Feeling Groovy that Miss Scarlett is doing as she's hosting for Diamond Painting with Friends 2.0. I have been enjoying this canvas. I mean, you can see I'm over halfway. I really have loved it. I loved all the colors in it. The tie-dye dress was so pretty. The flowers in her hair. I can't wait to get to those. And, you know, I really, I did buy a couple, 3, I think I bought 3 total of ABs to exchange for some of the colors because of where they were located and how I liked the look of them on the canvas. So I have substituted those in on under the correct numbers. So this one I didn't take that much liberty. All I did was exchange the given number. Like, you know, one of them, one of the 4 or 5 different colors that are in her hair, one of them happened to be 938, which is kind of a chocolate brown color. So I put in 938 ABs. So yeah, that's all I did, was just substitute the same exact number, but for the AB in it. So that is what's going on. Bring in a little closer so you can see what's happening here. All right, here we go. All right, I think we're good now. We golden? I think so. So that's what's happening event-wise over here at this channel. So yeah, how are all of you doing? Let me know in the comment section. How is everything going for everyone else? I know that there has been some drama going on in the diamond painting community. I'm not going to be talking about it. I get really tired of that, 7th grade backstabbing crap, so I'm just not participating in it, because that's not why I diamond paint. I'm guessing that's probably not why you diamond paint either. So, yeah, not going to be addressing it here. My advice is enjoy your painting, enjoy your hobby, don't get involved in it. And, you can tell the people that feel a need to do the cyberbullying says much more about them than it says about whoever it is they're harassing. So, yeah, so my advice would be just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. I think with the way things are going, we all have more to worry about than that. So that's my 2 cents. The only other thing I will say about that is, this channel is open to everyone. I don't care if you diamond paint only off canvas items, or if you only do budget friendly, or you only do premium, or you do a little of all of it. You're welcome here in this domain, as long as you are respectful and nice to everyone else that comes in here. You are welcome to stay and hang out as long as you want and be part of our community and part of the Diamonds and Stuff family. On the flip side of that, if you come in here and are incapable of doing that and conducting yourself in an appropriate manner, I will not think twice about booting you out, and you will not be allowed back in. There are no second chances, because I'm not putting up with it. I have a zero tolerance policy for any level of bullying. So that's the show, as they say. So yeah, so I know that you guys are a great crowd. I feel very fortunate, because I don't tend to draw the worst among us. I just don't. I'm happy to say that apparently the trolls don't find this to be an interesting channel. Thank God. Really glad. Not that there haven't been any. There have been a few, and that I think I've had to do 3 altogether, which isn't bad when you consider Dragonites. You are now 1,434 strong. Woohoo! Which I can't even believe. It's crazy to me to even fathom that. But thank you so much for your support of the channel and for subbing in. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. And I know you have plenty of channels you could be watching. So thank you for choosing to watch this one when you do. I really do appreciate it. My tried and true people who come in and leave me messages and, just are generally just really wonderful human beings. Thank you for that. I enjoy interacting with all of you. You guys are a great group, and I could not be more pleased at my Dragonites. So, and new subbies, new Dragonites, welcome. This is a place that, we get to talk about stuff. We get to do stuff. We get to unbox stuff. We get to review things. We get to talk about the latest trends. We get to do a lot of fun stuff. I do occasionally, although albeit rarely, but occasionally I do also, because I'm a paper crafter. I've been a rubber stamper for an age. So I will occasionally, show cards or something of that nature that I'm working on. So other than that, it's pretty exclusive to diamond painting, which right now are my 2 favorite crafts. I do dabble in air dry clay. I also dabble in resin. So yeah, so there's a few hobbies that, take up my life. because I like a variety. I get bored easily, and so I like to have multiple things going on. So, you know, depending on my mood du jour, I have something to work on. When I can find the time and energy and pain level to do it, that's what I like to do. So, you know, I found diamond painting fairly late in the game, I guess. I didn't know it was late in the game until I started watching other channels, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that was around that long. You know, I've heard a lot of people say that they started around the pandemic or slightly before that. I just started about 2.5 years ago now. So, yeah, I watched it for a long time and I hadn't really tried it. And so then I tried it because when I first started, when I first looked at it, I thought, oh, there's no way. This is going to be way too boring, way too tedious, going to take way too long. This is not going to be for me. Well, I was pleasantly surprised because it sure is exactly for me because I absolutely love it and I didn't expect to. And then, you know, my husband Neil also diamond paints. I don't think he expected really to like it either, but he definitely does, and I'm really glad. I know I mentioned earlier that you know, there's been a lot of things happening around here and a lot of you know, stressful things that keep me away from the channel sometimes, because, you know, life gets in the way of our diamond painting. What can I tell you? So one of the things is that Neil has been going through evaluation for, let's just call it a neurocognitive disorder. And so that's been taking up a lot of time. And, you know, there's a lot that goes through that with that. And so that is why things have been a little crazier than usual, and a lot of doctor visits, a lot of tests that had to be run, a lot of scans that have to be done, some court papers that have to be done. So, yeah, a lot of life-changing stuff has been going on around here, which is why I had to step away, you know, albeit briefly. But, yeah, I'm not going to stay away from my Dragonites too long because, you know, I adore my Dragonites. I miss you guys when I don't get to talk to you and see you. So, but the majority of that is now complete, and so hope to be back with a little bit more regularity. That's all I can say. So, so yes, I've really been enjoying the Feeling Groovy event. It's been a lot of fun to participate in. I have been so enjoying this particular canvas. It's been a lot of fun. And, you know, it's, God, you guys, it's had fantastic drills. I'm telling you, I don't know how that works. I don't understand it because, you know, I guess I have low expectations for budget friendly, which you shouldn't have, because regardless of whether it's premium or budget friendly, they should be adequate to do the job. Okay, now when I say adequate, this is my definition of adequate. They should be appropriately formed. They should go together well. There should be adequate glue so that nothing goes flying, straying, sliding off or anything while you're diamond painting. You know, that should be the minimum requirement. Anything over that is, you know, you're kind of in the gravy arena. So if you have all of that, okay, you've got good drills, you got good glue, you got a nice canvas material to work on, you know, basically you're golden. You can start doing your diamond painting and it should be a pleasant experience. So, okay, but you know, we all know that sometimes you get, you know, you just get a turkey. You get something going on with your canvas, and if you're paying $10 or less for it, you know, you have to know that that could happen. It's usually a fluke, and usually the companies are happy to either replace the canvas or send you whatever was missing, or, you know, all of those nifty things that we ask companies to do. Now, if you're paying $70, $80, $90, $100 or more for a canvas, I think that the expectation should be automatically higher. You know, and there are things that I'm okay with when I buy a budget-friendly canvas. So, for instance, it is okay with me if the budget-friendly canvases have, let's say, a little more trash, okay? So maybe I have to sort through the drills a little bit more. They're not just, you know, right out of the bag, ready to go, like they technically should be. That can happen. Okay, that's all right. I'm okay with that being part of the situation. If they are, you know, let's say they're kind of, you know, not as great as I'd like them to be. Like, you know, maybe they just don't, you know, they just don't come out as well, or you know what I mean, something of that nature. That's okay too, because yeah, you know, I don't mind putting in a little bit of effort, and that for me is not a deal breaker. So I'm okay with that happening. Now, if it's really bad, I get annoyed, because it really doesn't matter who you're paying. In my opinion, you're paying for your artwork. You should get what you pay for. So it should be a workable canvas. Now, sometimes they're not, and we all have experienced that situation at least once. So yeah, as frustrating as that is, it's something that we know as diamond painting enthusiasts, that occasionally that just happens, and it can happen to any canvas. I have had, you know, 2 or 3 premium canvases now where I have had frustratingly annoying situations. Like, I had one that, you know, had spots where there was no glue at all, and I thought, really, you gotta be kidding me. So, you know, yes, I have dot stick, and I took care of it, and I dealt with it myself, but I don't really think I should have to for the amount that I paid for that canvas. That one should not have required additional effort to make it a workable canvas, and yet it did. So, you know, that's just kind of my position on it. So, all of that being said, you know, now you have a basis of understanding of what I consider an acceptable diamond painting. This canvas, where did I purchase you, lady? I think I purchased her at GBFKE, maybe. Might have been, I don't think it was Coup Deals, but it might have been New Craft Day. It was one of the budget companies. I'm so pleasantly surprised, because it's been wonderful. Really wonderful. I mean, you can hear the glue, right, as I'm painting along. You can hear it, you know, the glue sticking, the drill sticking to the glue. So that's wonderful. I've had very little trash. I'm over halfway finished with it. I've had maybe 3 or 4 drills that I had to replace. 2 that were stuck together. 1 that was tiny, instead of normal size, and then 1 that had a little chip out of it. That's it. Other than that, it's been really wonderful. I have enjoyed it thoroughly. So glad of that happening. I just love it, because you know, we know that not all diamond paintings are created equal. I mean, you know that if you've been diamond painting any length of time, you know that sometimes you get just a real turkey. And it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, that it's a terrible company. Sometimes, you know, companies, as we know, they don't all have the same level of quality control. You know, they're there to make a product, sell it, make a profit, move on. So every once in a while, you know, something gets out of whack. Again, that can happen with a premium canvas too. But you know, now sometimes it is the company. I mean, if you order twice or 3 times, I no longer order from fan sales, because and I know there are people that have really good luck with them. I have had terrible luck with them multiple times, and so there are too many choices of diamond painting companies. So I just choose not to frequent their store. I mean, that's basically, what it amounts to. However, there are several that I work with, and, I've had 1 or 2 turkeys from other companies, but the ones that I do frequent, I know that's unusual, because if it was an ongoing thing, I wouldn't frequent them. So I know that it's not an ongoing thing. So I just go, oh, well, this must have been an end of the day Friday one, because this or that or the next thing is not functional. So that's kind of how I look at it. But what a pleasure. I mean, this canvas has been wonderful, better than any premium canvas that I can even think of. It's just been wonderful. Drills are great. The glue is great. The canvas is great. It's holding everything down. Yeah, just really nice. It flattened out right away. I didn't have to do anything to it other than just straighten it out. It's just been a good one. So yay, woohoo. So I'm glad, because, when you're doing an event, you're spending a lot of time with your canvas, because, you're trying to work through it, because it's, you want to get it as close to complete as you can usually by the end of the event. Now, I mean, not always, or sometimes events are a couple months long. Okay, well, whatever it is, but you just want to be able to do your best. And if you have constant problems, you're like, ugh, this is not going to be my thing. I can just tell. So, oh, I just missed some of those letters I just had. Figures. So, yes, this has been a really fun canvas, and I like the way it's turning out. And I was worried there would not be enough dimension to be able to make out, her facial features and all that kind of stuff, but it looks like it's going to be fine. Please excuse the dogs in the background losing their minds, because, they're dogs. They do that periodically. Speaking of which, so I've been enjoying Sugar Ray Crafts event also. She's doing Canidae, which is, canines, all things dogs. And that's been fun. She's been sharing stories about how her dogs came to be in her life, which has been really nice. She has many of them. So, yeah, it's been interesting to hear in her Wip N Chats. I guess there's only 4 of us participating, kind of disappointing. But that really improves our odds of winning that $50 gift card to DAC, so woohoo. Yeah, if you didn't get in on that one, I'm really sorry, because it's been fun. It's been a hoot. We've been enjoying that. I've also, so I've been doing Feeling Groovy, and I've been doing the Canidae event. So I've been working on those. Plus I'm working on the 2 little dragon canvas that are facing each other, because March was my anniversary month. And I've also been doing partials. So yeah, some days I feel like, I'm just really giving my arms and hands a workout. And I've been really struggling with my arthritis lately, and I think it's because the weather can't make up its mind what season it wants to be. So I can't ever get used to it, because just when I start to get used to it, it changes. So yeah, that has been a little frustrating. And so my joints are like going, what are you doing? Could you just quit that? Because we can't get used to it. So now all we can do is sit here and really hurt, which it's been doing. So my little Finian man, my bearded dragon, he's been asleep now for 3 weeks, and I miss him. I really miss him, because he's my buddy. He's my companion. I take him with me when I go places. If I have to go to the store or the pharmacy, or, if I have a running errands, he likes to go with me and, work on his tan on the dashboard of the car, and then go in and, say hi to everybody, because he thinks people are interesting to watch. So, yeah, I feel very alone when he's sleeping, because it's like, I just feel naked, because that little man's not with me to, my shoulder is just, all by itself. But, he needed some rest, and I'm glad he's getting it now, because, as you guys know, I was doing the GoFundMe for Finn's care. so that I can get some diagnostics done on him that are going to be close to $1,000, just to find out what's happening, because he hadn't really been himself. And I knew that, you know, this was a really bad brumation year. Nobody was brumating the way they were supposed to. And, you know, again, you know, climate change is hard on animals who rely on seasonal changes to know what they're supposed to be doing. So it has been a struggle for all four of the dragons. They kind of been, you know, up and down like yo-yos, which is not typical. So I'm glad, though, that, you know, Finn got some rest, because I want him to be well rested when we get the diagnostics done, so that that's not a factor. I don't want her to just go, oh, well, you know, he just needs to get in a good winter's nap. Yeah, well, no. I mean, he won't be able to do that till late fall or winter this next come around. So and he just can't, you know, continue to be his little lethargic self. And I mean, not overly lethargic, but just like, you know, he just can't be bothered. And if we go out in the community, which is his all-time favorite thing to do, I mean, it knocks him out. He has to sleep for a couple days, which is not typical of how he would normally respond. So, but at least we can take out lack of sleep. I mean, he will be well rested, and then we can just, you know, go to the rest of the diagnostics and see what they say. So hopefully, if it's an age thing and he just needs some other type of supplement, or needs to be off of a supplement, or something of that nature, then we can do that, and he can live his best life. I have not had a dragon this age, because when I started out with rescuing, I was rescuing and I was rehoming, and they were living with their new forever families. So now Finn was my first one, and he turned 10 last month. So but usually the ones that are in need of rescue don't live this long. I mean, that's just, unfortunately, it's a reality of the situation. Now, and I do get, I get young dragons, usually between, say, 1 and 5 years old. And when I got Finian, he was just over a year old. So, yeah, he's just an impressive guy. Griffin, stop whining, sweetheart. He's the first truly geriatric dragon. So, I'm trying to glean as much information as I can about, what, if any, lifestyle changes you need to make as they get into double digits. Now, I know some of you are wondering, well, what's a bearded dragon's lifespan? Well, a bearded dragon's lifespan should be 15 to 20 years. However, the first year is absolutely crucial, and the second year is the next absolutely crucial time. If you do not give them what they need to correctly develop, they are not going to live out their natural lifespan. It will be cut short by a lot. As an example, the pet stores will tell you, because they're pet stores, they do not put a lot of time and energy into their reptiles. They are there to get a profit. They're not there to advise and consent, which is too bad. I wish they would do that before they allowed them to leave the store, but they do not. They'll tell you that, 10 to 12 years. Why? Because for, a pet store dragon, that's pretty good. Now, Finn was a pet store dragon. He was at Petco, actually. His first owners went in for something else. They were going in because they also had other reptiles. They had an iguana and they had some geckos. And so they, went to look at the bearded dragons. Well, that was all well and good. And Finn was there, And interestingly enough, he wasn't a hatchling, which is interesting. Most of the time, much to our dismay, those of us who have reptiles, usually they, pet stores, chain pet stores will try to get hatchlings. They'll try to get babies and sell them because they know that most of the time people are going to come in for babies. Well, if they don't sell them while they are hatchlings and they start to become juveniles and then subadults, they will eliminate them from the store. You can find online lots of videos of people that make it a point to dumpster dive behind pet stores and rescue, pocket animals and reptiles that have been put in plastic bins and tossed into the trash. Which I will never be okay with, but they do it. So the fact that they had Finn in there, who was kind of between the juvenile and subadult age, so probably 6 months, 7 months in there somewhere, he was still in the store, and he was still in a tank with 2 other bearded dragons, which is also unusual. So they kind of liked that he wasn't a newborn, and but he wasn't, an aged dragon. So they were like, yeah, we'd like to check him out. And he was so nice, and he was so kind, and he was a sweet-natured dragon. They went, yes, we'd like to take him home. Then they had changes in their life where they just weren't home enough and had to rehome all of the reptiles. Although I think they kept one of the geckos, but everybody else, had to be rehomed. And so he came to live here, and his first ever brumation cycle was when he was 2, and that's usually about the time that they do it, because they have to reach sexual maturity, and so, which kind of comes between the 1 and 2 years time frame. So he did, have his first brumation cycle, but right before that, I got really nervous because I was not well versed in what behavior looks like for them before they go to sleep. So I panicked when he got, kind of slower, and he didn't want to eat, and he didn't want to do, he just, kind of looked like he wasn't interested in the world. And I was like, oh no, something happened. Oh my God, what did I do wrong? So I took him in, and sure enough, he was just, prepping for brumation. I was like, oh, thank God. And she's like, no, he's very healthy. I was like, oh, yay. But one thing that she did find is, and she asked me, when was he sick? And I said, I'm sorry, what? She said, he has scar tissue in his lungs. He doesn't have full lung capacity because of it. Like, when was he ill? I said, oh, I don't know. I got him. He was already an adult, so it had to have been when he was a juvenile, because he wasn't ill with me, and his prior owner said he was never ill with them, so it had to have been before he was purchased, which makes sense as to why he was still there and he was older. Somebody, probably an employee or an employee's family, took him to a vet when he had an upper respiratory infection and took care of him until he was well. I will be forever in debt to that person, even though I have no idea who it is. But that's why he was a little older and he was still there, because they had to get him well before they could put him out to be sold to somebody for his forever home. But, somebody cared enough to do that and still give him up, which, wow, So apparently he had a URI, and so that's why he had the decreased lung capacity. I mean, he has enough lung capacity to do what he needs to do, definitely. That's never been a thing, but that illness, whatever it was, is probably also the reason that he has problems moving his back legs now, because in reptiles, there are some viruses that do leave neurological damage that doesn't show up until they're starting to age. So it kind of goes dormant, and they do okay. And then they start to get older, and then they start to have issues like sometimes their legs don't work. Sometimes, their they look to be doing fine, and like Finn, they turn themselves over and they can't get back up, that kind of thing. So and he really followed suit on that. So that's what they think is happening, because they have no other explanation for the neurological problems that seem to plague him in his back end. But he is he's the sweetest dragon ever, and yeah, he's my guy. So it's all, you know, it all works out, and he's just absolutely precious. So yeah, he's sleeping and I miss him. And then when he wakes up, we're gonna get him back to specs, and then I will make his appointment to go in and have his evaluation to see, you know, what, if anything, can be done to sort of help him with this phase of his life, since this is not where I'm the most well versed. And, you know, unfortunately, since reptiles are at the bottom of the food chain when it comes to funding, we don't know as much as we wish we knew about reptiles, because, you know, by the time the dogs and cats and the wildlife and the pocket pal type animals use up the funding and it gets time for reptiles, there's very little left. And so there's a lot of things that we should know and we don't. You know, it's very frustrating that we don't know as much as we need to know. So, but I'm still going to try. I'm going to see what I can do, what I can find out. You know, if she says that he needs something that he's not getting, okay, I'm going to investigate as to why he needs it. Why is it not sinking into his body? Because he does get multivitamins, which when I printed out the ingredients, there are 2 pages of all the stuff that's in the vitamins. So he gets a multivitamin, he gets a probiotic, and he gets 3 different forms of calcium. So if he is not absorbing something, we need to find out why he's not absorbing it. Or if he's getting too much of something, I need to know which one it is and what dosage would be better for him. So that's my goal, is to find all of that out and make sure that he's not deteriorating in, you know, his legs and his motor skills. I mean, it's expected to be degenerative, but it's never shown up in the front legs, thank God. So we don't know for sure. Don't know what's causing it. Don't know why it's happening. Not sure what to do about it. You know, all that annoyance type lack of information is going on. So I'm going to do my very best to find out everything that I can and see if there's anything we can do to make his golden years better, since he's the best dragon ever. And he really, really is. He's just the best. So, yeah, but that's all going to have to be when he gets up. Right now, he's just snoozing peacefully. He turned his head. Last night, it was over to the right side, and then this morning when I checked him, it was over on the left side. And I'm like, oh, all right, well, at least you're moving around a little bit in there. So yep, that's the story with him. Oh, that's a trash drill. So, but you know, everyone else is doing really well. Claire is huge. She is the biggest dragon in the house at the moment. She's even bigger than Merlin, which is crazy to me. But yep, she is a big girl and doing really well. Ruby is also her beautiful little diva self. She's doing quite well also. So, and Merlin, he has his moments of grouchiness and where he just doesn't want to interact. But other than that, he's doing just fine too. So, yep. And the dogs are all good. As you could hear in the background a little while ago. Yeah, they're just fine. Noisy, but fine. So, yep. And, you know, for the moment, all the people are fine too. So, yay. Thank goodness, because a lot of stress happening around here. And in the world at large. So, yeah, that's kind of all that's been happening. I mean, mainly we've just been driving exhaustively to medical appointment after medical appointment after medical appointment. So, not fun. And then it's going to be my turn later this month. I have my annual physical. So, yeah, you never get away from it. It's just constant. So, yeah, that's kind of all that's happening with that. Other than that, it's been kind of quiet. Neil's 75th birthday is coming up next month. And I said, you know, you ought to call you ought to call Jim, his best friend since before, you know, middle school, which in our day was junior high, so 7th grade. Lives in Washington. And I said, you know, why don't you call him and see if he can come out for your birthday? And so he said he could, so that was wonderful. His wife just got diagnosed with MS, and so she won't be able to come, but he is going to come out. So that was wonderful. I was really glad because they lost one of their best friends that used to hang around with them when they were kids. You know, they were all very close. They just lost him. He passed away early last year, and so, you know, it's just really been hard on them. You know, they feel it kind of intensely, I guess is the way to phrase it. And so I'm really glad that he's going to be able to be here for Neil because, you know, it's been hard. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of new diagnoses for everybody. There's one other friend that is part of the little clique that they used to hang around with when they were kids, who has had cancer a couple of times. And so they're always worrying about him too. So I'm glad his best friend, though, will be able to come and stay for the weekend. So now I'm trying to figure out what would be a fun thing to do for this 75th birthday that he can get to on his cane and I can get to in my scooter and Jim can get to. So that's really what I'm trying to figure out amongst all the medical stuff is what kind of thing are we going to do? Like, do we want to try to go to a play? Do we want to go to try to get to a concert? Do we want to, you know, go into LA or stay in our own county? Like, what do we want to do? So that's kind of, you know, what we're looking about. All right, Griffin. So when you have a needy chihuahua, sometimes you just have to give in. So, all right, you can sit in this hand because I have to use this one to diamond paint. Okay. So that is the next thing on my agenda, is try to figure out what we're going to do to celebrate Neil's birthday. So, yeah. And I know that, you know, the diagnosis for him was hard. It's a hard thing for him to realize and to accept. So, and I suspect that we're going to have some pretty hard times ahead. So, you know, I really want to maximize, you know, whatever we do this year. And of course, when I ask him, he's, oh, you know, I'm sure whatever we think of will be fine. Yeah, we. He means me. That's what he means. So I'm thinking about it. I'm also going to try to see if there's anything coming to the area. Usually in May we have, you know, some touristing type things starting, but with the tariffs and the price of gas and everything that's going on, I don't know that we're going to have as much tourism as we usually do. So I don't know if there will be anything that'll be out here. I'll have to, you know, keep an eye on the county, you know, listing and see what's going on. So, but one way or another, we are bound and determined to do something fun. So there, we are going to do something fun. That much I know for sure. So that's that situation. My grandkids are growing like little weeds. It's just nuts. They are just leaping and bounding. My grandsons are 8, 6, and 2. My granddaughter is a year old. So she is the sibling of the 6-year-old. The 8-year-old and 2-year-old are siblings of my other son. So, and you know, unfortunately, one son lives in Florida, the other one in Texas, and we're in California. So, you know, the cousins don't get to play together, which I think is such a shame, because I remember really enjoying that time. You know, we would get together as, you know, family for holidays and stuff. My cousins and I would just maximize that time. We just, you know, we were nonstop all day until we just all dropped off to sleep because we were exhausted. But those were really good times and lots of good memories that we all carried with us, you know, as we got into adulthood. So, you know, I feel badly that my grandkids aren't closer together in terms of geography. So, yeah, it's a bummer. But what can you do? We're talking about trying to have a family reunion. We're trying to decide when to have it, and, you know, under what circumstances. Like, do we want to do like a holiday thing like for Christmas, or do we want to do something, you know, in a different part of the year? And we decided we probably all need to meet in Texas, because that way my son that's in Florida and the two of us, or the three of us that are in California, will just meet in the middle, which will be Texas at my other son's house. Now, whether or not my Texas son's wife is interested in that, I don't know. But we want to do that, you know, fairly soon, in the next year or two at the most. So, so that'll be happening. So we'll see what comes of that. Yeah, that's pretty much all that's going on. I mean, fortunately, I'm really thankful for FaceTime, because I do get to talk to my grandkids and get to see their little faces and see them growing and, you know, doing all that kind of stuff. And they're just getting so big. Well, especially my little granddaughter, my little Layla. She was walking just a couple of days before she was 10 months old. So while she was still 9 months, she just got up and ran. So, you know, she has just been something else. And I asked my son, her dad, because he has a boy and a girl, right? And so I asked him, you know, hey, you know, how is it being a girl dad? And he goes, I mean, it's really good. I really like it. I love my daughter because she's so different from Mason. I'm like, well, yes, because, you know, she's a girl. I told him that girls are just, you know, they're born small women. So be prepared for that, because that's how their little minds work. So, but, you know, he's getting used to it. And fortunately, his mother-in-law is like 40 minutes away. So when it's really stressful, you know, she can take the kids and give them a minute to breathe. So it's all good. So, yep, that's all the interesting news that's fit to print, for sure. So, yeah, we have had a lot of fun getting to talk to them. And, you know, I'll get this phone call from my son, and I'll see his phone number, and it's in a FaceTime, and I'll look, and there'll be one of my cute little grandkids' face standing there going, hi, Grandma. Hi, sweetheart. So that's always fun. I'm glad that, you know, Facebook's a thing, or not Facebook, but FaceTiming is a thing, so that, you know, I can see them. So, but yeah, I wish I could be with them more often. You know, I mean, if you had kids, you know how fast it goes. And so, yeah, I'm just kind of bummed about not getting to see them, you know, more often in person, but what can you do? So, yeah, that's what's going on. So I think it'll be fun to get together, but, you know, we all agreed that, hey, if we're going to meet up in Texas, let's not do it in the height of summer, because we don't want to just go there just to become puddles. Like, no, that's not a good idea. I don't do heat well. I don't like heat. In fact, I despise heat. I say that as, you know, I'm sitting here, it's 80 degrees today, and miserable. That's really what it is. So I have a feeling it's going to be a hot summer, and a very long hot summer this year. So yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if we're going to be traveling out this year or maybe next year, but it's also a thing where I don't know how much longer, Neil and I can really be driving places. We had planned to get a motorhome, but, the economy doing what it's doing, that pretty much eliminated that possibility for quite some time. So that's not going to be how we're going to be doing it. So we either have to drive and hotel it, or we have to fly and have somebody pick us up. But the problem with that is, because of my scooter, if their vehicle is not equipped to have it, to be loaded on or in their vehicle, then it's a problem, because it's not an option. I have to take it. So yeah, it's an ongoing point of contention for sure. So that's what's happening. So I don't know. We'll see how things go. But it's always nice. I mean, my oldest son calls me every day, the one that has the 2 boys. And so we get a chance to talk about that, because, he's in the hospitality field. So he spends his day at work on the phone. He's an event coordinator for the hospitality field, meaning if you have an event coming up and you need rooms for, say a company, there has to be 10 or more people, then he would be the one that you would talk to on the phone to make those reservations. So, he can talk to me in between calls, and which I find fun too. I like to watch him work, because I think he's good at his job, and he was the highest seller for the 2nd year in a row now. So yeah, I think they are aware that, he's definitely selling their wares to the best of his ability. So yeah, in fact, as we speak, he is driving down to Orlando to go on an immersion. They call it an immersion. They have their salespeople come down and basically experience the hospitality of the hotels that they're selling the reservations for periodically, and and get experience in the town, and they take them out and they pay all their expenses, and they can eat, drink, and be merry on the company dime. And that way, as they're selling these hotels, they can say, oh, this one has this kind of parking or shuttle service, or did you know that there's an amusement park down the street, or whatever it is. They learn all this stuff so that they can, in theory, sell up when people call. So that's the theory anyway. So yeah, they feel like it's worth their time to do that, so that their employees get a taste of their service and can do that. So yeah, it's nice, because he can go and be a grown-up and not have to worry about taking either of the kids, and he can just go and meet up with his coworkers, and just all the normal stuff. And they give him a bunch of swag, a bunch of free stuff, which he usually sends to me, which I think is really fun. I like seeing all the cool stuff they give them. So yeah, he's on his way. So hopefully he'll have a good time for the next couple days. He's not supposed to get home till sometime Friday night, just in time, because he has to pick up the boys on Saturday morning. So it's his weekend with everybody. So yeah, he's going to be tired, but he'll be fine. So yeah, that's all that's about. What else is going on? Let's see. All of the schools that are around this area have spring break this week. The next town over was last week. But the ones that were last week and they're back in session this week have Good Friday off. So, I guess they needed a long weekend after that long week off break. But anyway, so, who knows how that's going to how that's going to work out, but that's where we are with that. So, yep, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, it'll work out because, what the problem is, my youngest son, Jared, a lot of his volunteer work sites are at schools. So when they're out of session, he has to find alternative things to do, which can be a little challenging. So, yeah. So far, they've managed to find a couple of things, but sometimes what's available is not what piques his interest and vice versa. So, yeah, it can be kind of a bummer. I did get through the meeting that I told you guys about, I think it was 2 Wip N Chats ago, for the renewal of his services, because, it's been a year, so I had to go back through that. And it seemed to go okay. It's always a challenge. I mean, the person that he has right now has only been on Team Jared for, now, I guess coming up on a year and a half. So, she's not, up to snuff on everything. So, it's like we have to guide her through it and then, explain the nuances and why it's a good choice or not a good choice. Then we all have to wait while she tries to fix it and then do the right thing. I mean, it's just, it's a lot. At least she's nice. I mean, we've had a couple over the years that have not been very nice. And really, I have no use for that. And if you are not nice, then you don't belong in the field where you're dealing with developmentally disabled people, because you need to be nicer than that. So, suffice it to say, I have had to request new service coordinators on more than one occasion, and that's fine. And I will do that repeatedly. If I can't seem to get one who knows what they're doing and knows how to relate to Jared, then they can't help us, and that's my position about it. So, yeah. Or, if they just can't figure out how to return phone calls, also not helpful, because sometimes, it's a question about, hey, he doesn't really want to have to be in that classroom today. Like, is there any other, option that we can kind of do? What I don't want to hear is, no, that's all there is. Take it or leave it. Sometimes in tone and sometimes in word. So, yeah, those people do not last very long, because I have no problem, none whatsoever, calling their supervisor and saying, hi, as much as so-and-so would like to be able to help us, it's become clear that they can't. So we need a new service coordinator, please. And in the future, we would like one who can return voice messages, who can at least be professional and courteous, if not anything else. And, as soon as possible, that'd be great. So, yeah, sometimes they argue, but it's not often. I'm not going to have anybody in his life that doesn't have at least common courtesy with which to speak to him and do what, needs to be done, because, life is too short for that. And, my son and so many like him that have to do things that we do for granted and we understand, they have to really work at. Sometimes it's physical stuff. Sometimes just being able to breathe normally. Sometimes it's, being able to let somebody know that their breathing tube is got something in it and it needs to be cleared. I mean, it can be a lot. And if you're too busy, being obnoxious because you don't like your job or you're not comfortable with this population, then please go, because you're not helping anybody at all. You're just making everybody else's life harder. So that's the sermon for today. But after we pointed everything out that we needed to tell the service coordinator that he has, I mean, she did perfectly fine. And, I told her that what I thought we needed to do and how, how much of it we needed to get funded and, how I thought it should happen. And she watched all of that and, wrote it down. So I'm hoping that, in the future, until this time next year, it won't be it won't be too much. We'll be able to do it smoothly since we've already gotten now the groundwork done. But geez, I hate training new people. Ugh, it's so much work. So, but yeah. He's also getting to the point where I'm going to need to, his doctor is getting ready to retire. He really should have already. I mean, he really should have. He's been on half days. He's only there till noon, I think 4 days a week. And that's been true for years and years. I just really need to get him in with another one. But we have a real lack of appropriate doctors, which is interesting because we're only, you know, a county over from LA County, who has UCLA and USC and some of the best health care you can get, that people come from all over to access. And yet one county over, ghost town, absolute ghost town when it comes to finding really good medical help. So it's taking a minute. And because he has a coordination of benefits, because he has, you know, his private insurance. Well, he had private insurance and then he had Medicaid after that to help with his special needs. And then, you know, we had to take, after he'd been on disability for a couple of years, they make you take Medicare. And so then that becomes primary. So now he has, you know, Medicare and then private insurance and then Medicaid. So he's really, you know, triple covered. But trying to coordinate that, which is supposed to be, you know, supposed to make it easy. That's why they make you take it. Well, it made it harder for us, but what can you do? So we're making it work, but where it becomes hard is like, you know, like mental health. Like I've been trying to find him a new therapist now for 5 or 6 months, but nobody who takes Medicare takes either of the other insurances, and so, you know, and the whole point of having him with extra coverage is to help our out-of-pocket expenses because it can be so exorbitant, especially when he was younger, when he needed, you know, a brace for his spine. Then he had both legs casted for a while after he had surgery on his knees, you know, and he needed orthotics in his shoes. I mean, all of these things, and, you know, which insurance companies don't like to pay for if they can help it. You know, they cost money. So the only way we've been able to make it work is to have more than one coverage for him. But yeah, again, not always easier. Sometimes it's easier in the long term, but the short term is sort of a nightmare while you're getting all that ironed out. And again, most of the office staff isn't interested in trying to work with that because they don't really understand it, that you have to bill Medicare because that's his primary, because with, you know, and we have no choice, that's what it is. And you have to get their approval or their denial. Then you have to get paid from them. Then you have to take that and the EOB where they paid their share. And then you have to send it to his private insurance. Then they pay whatever their portion is of what Medicare allowed. And then you have to take all of that information and send it to Medicaid to try to get reimbursed for the rest. So, you know, it's a pain, always. And no office staff wants to deal with that, even if there are some that understand why they have to do that, and most of them don't, which I don't understand. I've worked both front office and back office for doctors because, you know, I had accounting is in my background. That's what I did for most of my working life, as accounting. And I have seen so many doctors go without so much money they're entitled to just because their staff doesn't know how to bill properly. And it's just so sad because it doesn't need to be that way. I mean, you can send them to a workshop or two for a day and learn how to do that, and then you will be reimbursed at the correct rate. So, you know, hello. But, you know, most of them don't understand it. They don't want to understand it. They want to perform, you know, practice medicine, which is why they're a physician. Totally get it. But you really hurt yourself and your practice when you don't have people that know how to bill to maximize whatever your reimbursement rate is. So I've had to explain it to a number of doctors, and oof, it can be brutal. Just trying to help them understand why this is an important thing to do. You know, not everything is created equal. You know, not all insurance companies are created equal, as we all know. They pay different rates. They pay for different services. Not everything is covered by one that's covered by another. You know, if you have people who have government insurance tied up in there, you know, it's a headache. It absolutely is. But it's essential that, you know, you have people who do understand it, who are doing your billing, because that's your lifeline, that's your bread and butter. So, you know, all of that to say that, you know, it would behoove them if they could just have that done. But since they don't, and then we come along where we've got all this extra coverage and they give us a dirty look, I'm like, oh, sorry. But if we didn't, we would have untold thousands out of our pocket that we just don't have. So, but this is why things like Social Security are important. If Jared didn't have that, I don't know what we would do, because that allows him, his eligibility for that allows him to be eligible for other things that would be very important. If Neil and I get in a car accident and we're wiped out tomorrow and totally gone, his services, because he's eligible for both the regional center system out here and Social Security, he would be eligible for housing. He would be eligible for, if he needed rent assistance, he would be eligible for food stamps. He would be eligible for things that he would need while whoever is going to take over his care is getting acquainted with all of that. So, you know, it's important. It's not just the money. And remember, it's not just old people. It's people that have had traumatic brain injuries, people that have disabilities, chromosomal disabilities, people who, you know, had, you know, just unfortunate accidents that have occurred. And now that's their lifeline too, is what they have from Social Security and what it opens the door for. So, and yes, you know, and you're attacking a group, Ginger, you're attacking a group that can't defend itself. So, as well as some of the other groups. So it's especially heinous because that's just gross, and everybody should be upset that that's going on. So, yeah, anyway, that's my soapbox for today. So, all right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining me. Letting me talk your ear off for this hour. She's coming along. I'm really enjoying this canvas. I can't even tell you. It's been so much fun. So I hope whatever you guys are doing for the rest of your week, you're going to have a great time and enjoy it, because, you know, you need to do that. And remember, Dragonites, always be a dragon. Spread your wings. Protect those you love. Have fiery passion. Stay strong, slay your fears, and always fly high, rise up, and soar. And remember, Dragonites, you are the physical representation of the most majestic creature to ever roam the mythological realm. So you should be treated accordingly. If you are not being treated accordingly, you need to let them know they are not worthy, and then you need to walk away, and that's it. They do not get your time unless they are going to be respectful to you. All right, Dragonites, have a wonderful rest of your week. Hang in there. A couple more days, and then it's a weekend again. And, you know, please take a break from social media and from TV, and, you know, let your brain just rest for a minute. Go outside, get some sunlight, breathe fresh air, please, because, you know, these are times of insanity. And so when you're trying to deal on a regular basis and it's a new insanity every 5 minutes, you know, it wears on you. It absolutely wears on you. So don't let it. Get outside, talk to friends, play a game, go to a movie, do something that, you know, inoculates your soul against the craziness. Okay? All right, everyone. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.